How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO build video. Today is a brand new build called Flex, and it's a combination of two existing builds. This is a Magicka Nightblade of sorts, and this is Flawless and Status Pro combined. 2-bar, 1-bar, all content, infinite archive, the lot. It's all covered in the video. Stay tuned if you want to see more. So this particular build, as I said at the beginning, is a merge of two very popular builds. The Flawless build, which was a very high crit-based Magicka Nightblade, and the Status Pro build, which was a Crushing Shock spamming Status build. Both of which are capable of all content, but both of them are slightly different in their approach to how they apply their damage and how they tend to survive. So the combination of the two, after many updates past, makes sense. So now we've got Flex. Now, we're not going to go over the stats, first of all, because that confuses people. The stat sheet obviously has numbers in it which look great, but people try to adjust their stats with any sets they can find to make them match, and unfortunately, that's not how the game works. There are hidden variables, there are sets that don't show in your stat sheet, and just matching the numbers is not enough. However, just for argument's sake, when you're buffed, this has 74% crit chance. Anyway, first of all, we're going to go into the gear. Yep, straight into it. We're going to tell you what we're using. Now, there are several different variants of this depending on where you are in the game, what you have access to, what you like to do, who you play with, all that kind of stuff. But the basic overview of the build is roughly the same. The skill pressing is going to be the same. The skill setup is going to be the same. Just a couple of swap outs for gear. So first of all, you want to go into Asylum Sanctorium. Now, this can be done on normal. You don't need the vet or harder difficulty version. So the difficult version, the perfected version of the set, actually gives you 103 extra weapon and spell damage, which is quite nice, but it's not the end of the world. If you have the regular version from the normal Asylum Sanctorium, then of course, you just won't get that bonus. The other part, you will. What this does is it allows you to guarantee all 3 status effects that come with Crushing Shock every second cast. So light hit, light proc, light hit, light proc, over and over and over and over and over. That is very powerful based on the status effects changes in the last year or so, and also in the Infinite Archive, since that came out, with focused efforts, this absolutely decimates. And there are live streams on my channel where I've used versions of this already. We went to Arc 12 with a member of the audience and absolutely destroyed stuff. It is disgustingly powerful if used correctly. Now, to use correctly, you need your spammable to be Crushing Shock, and it is. So, get this, first of all, you can go on normal just to get the staff. Now, bear in mind there are 2 versions. There's Lightning and Fire. Fire will give you more status damage, but less direct damage. Lightning will give you more direct, but less status. However, Lightning does have direct damage bonuses, and Concussion and Chilled, 2 of the 3 status effects, are direct damage. So they do actually get boosted by it anyway. So it's a trade-off. The Lightning Staff, if you want to take advantage of your Crushing Shock being stronger, your Concussion and Chilled, and of course your Execute and your Bow, which we'll get to. And the Flame Staff, if you want to take advantage of your dots that you'll have running, and of course all of the status effects combined, plus the heavy attack damage over time that you can get from the Flame Staff passives. So they are very close, but what I would highly recommend, based on the fact that this does influence your Execute damage, I would highly recommend that in all content, dungeons, trials, and arenas, you use the Lightning Staff. And I would encourage you in the Infinite Archive to use the Flame Staff. Now, again, remember, it doesn't make a difference too much if you decide you favor one over the other. But if you do go with Lightning in everyday content, you'll get more out of your base skills. If you use Fire in Infinite Archive, you will get a lot more out of your status effects overall, because your Execute eventually is going to be bloody useless. Your Execute in everyday content is very powerful. In the Infinite Archive, your status effects and your Crushing Shock spam will do more damage than that. You won't need it anymore. So that's why the swap out between the two. The choice is yours, however. Anyway, let's move on because that's too long. Back bar is a Maelstrom weapon. Doesn't need to be perfected. You can go on normal if you want. The only difference is a pen bonus, and you'll only keep it on the back bar anyway. Bear in mind, the Wall of Elements that swaps bars, you'll use it on the back and swap bars, is already buffed. So that particular skill is fired and buffed from the set, even if you're on a different bar now. But the pen bonus doesn't carry over. So Infuse on the back, Precise on the front, Poison Glyph so we can take advantage of the status from that, and Weapon and Spell damage to increase our overall. Monster set, multiple swap outs here. Xan is obviously very, very powerful, high status damage, stay close to the target, and you can cut through multiple targets at once. So if you can go Helmet and Shoulders on this, fantastic. If not, there are other options. For everyday use, we've got Narayanef, which is very, very useful because it actually fires off of direct damage, and we're finding an abundance of it. We can actually fire multiple indirect damage shots from one skill. So Crushing Shock is 3, and then you've got your light attack prior to that, so that's 4. It goes up very, very quickly. It's an easy to get in comparison to Xan Helmet and Shoulder set. So if you do go to Vet Dungeons, you can unlock this on Vet difficulty. It's the only Vet difficulty you're going to need for the whole build, but you can use that. Failing that, Veladref in Infinite Archive is absolutely brilliant. Very, very fast rate of fire if you are running from one ad to another. Much faster than Xan, but Xan does cut through enemies and guarantee status. Veladref, however, hits quite hard initially, but it does allow for disease status effects if you're lucky, and that can also elevate as well, or escalate. Now, if you want to go extra extreme, if you are extremely good at light attack weaving, only if you're good at light attack weaving, 1, I don't recommend this for Infinite Archive, it's not going to fire enough. 2, every other content piece that you go into, this is fantastic. If you're up against a big, big boss and you are good at light attacks, this set, with the Lightning Staff, with the actual overall setup, can hit in excess of 100k per proc, but you must maintain your light attacks. You have to actually light attack every single time you weave in order to make sure this has got the full uptime. Very, very powerful, but again, it is more advanced, so I wouldn't recommend this for everyone. Everyday use, Narayanef. If you've got access to the content, of course, if you're good enough or if you've got access or whatever, there's lots of different variables to consider there. Do you have the DLC? Do you have friends that play it? Can you go into a pug and access this? Do you already have it? Veladref or Xan? So, there's your monster set. Now, body, easy. Go to the market, buy it. If not, go to Overland and farm it. It's really, really easy to pick up. Mother's Sorrow on the whole body. So chest, belt, hands, legs, feet. This can be swapped, but to get 74% crit as we are at the moment, this is very, very nice. Really easy to use, no extra special backflips to do, no complicated stuff, nothing. Just put it on, loads and loads of crit. That was on the Flawless build in the first place, and this particular set here was on the Status Pro build in the first place, so we've got a combination of the two builds. Now, you can swap this out again if you want more damage from Status, and the occasional proc as well to add extra damage, but you will lack crit. You will lose a bit, and you can swap to Calurians. If you use Calurians and the advanced helmet set, this one here, then of course you are going to get more burst, you are going to get more procs, you are going to get more damage overall most of the time. But if you're not very good at that stuff, then Mother's Sorrow is going to be far better for you alongside Xan and Narayanef or Veladref. These are combinations that you can choose to mess with depending on your accessibility to content and how good you are as a player. If you're not very good at all, nothing wrong with that. Weave Crush and Shock, put on Narayanef and keep on Mother's Sorrow, you're done. But the options are there nonetheless. Bear in mind, of course, Calurian does guarantee its respective status effect depending on which proc fires, which does give you more damage in the Infinite Archive if you get focused efforts. Now, the jewelry is quite simple. If you're not so advanced, then you can go with 3 willpower and you'll get some flat bonuses, but there's a twist. If you have willpower on all 3 pieces, including the necklace, you are going to get the full bonus and you're going to need to light attack because your light attacks will obviously benefit you because you're using all of your flat stats to contribute to it. However, if you're not very good, yet you've managed to farm mythics, this also can work in your favor. This will increase all of your damage done by 15%, but it will reduce the damage of your lights and heavies by 99%. So if you're more advanced and you can light attack very, very well, that Necro helmet that I told you about is going to hit like a truck with this. But, counterpoint, if you're good at it, great. If you're not good at it, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't light attack as often as you're supposed to, and you can't maintain a really good rhythm with it, you are less punished with this. So it's a very awkward twist. Willpower, more light attacks, more damage from the light attacks. Of course, the helmet's going to do great. This one, yes, you want to keep up your light attacks if you can, because that set will do more, but if you can't, then your overall will still be great if you're not using it. You see what I mean? It's a bit of a twist, but either way, it's very, very solid. If you're good at light attacks with willpower, you won't notice the difference with the overall setup unless you swap your monster helmet. If you're not very good, then this will still do very, very well, and you'll still get the most out of your individual skills damage. Either way, it's up to you. Now, if you want to use the 1-bar version, it's quite simple. You use the willpower neck, and you put on the Oaken Soul ring. Now, the back bar is completely ignored now. You keep your skills the same, and you basically just spam Crush and Shock. When it gets to the point there where you have way too many focused efforts, if you're in Infinite Archive, you just stop using your Execute and you just leave it on your bar for a passive crit bonus. That's it. Outside of that, you don't really need to change a thing. You just put on the ring and ignore the back bar. Everything else will still fire, everything is in place, and because we're using a 3 or 2-piece set alongside a 2-piece set here and a 2-piece here, we have actually got the flexibility to just swap in a mythic when we see fit. So the only thing you're going to sacrifice is the last bonus of willpower, and you replace it with lots and lots of bonuses anyway. So again, the choice is yours how you want to play, but you've got 3 willpower alongside the Mother's Sorrow or Kalurian, alongside Zaan, Veladreth, Yelnar, and Narayanef, so you've got some options there, and front bar Asylum, back bar Maelstrom. So we're 2, 2, 2, 5, 3, or 2, 2, 2, 5, 2, 1. It's up to you. Very unusual setup for most, but it works very, very well. Now, skills. I'm going to go over these kind of loosely because I have got a Nightblade guide on the channel. Some things have changed over time, but not too drastically, and anything that has changed has a supporting video on the channel. So check out the updates playlist, and of course the class guide there. Now, Inner Light on the front bar is nice and simple. We've actually got it double barred. This is from the Major Skills skill line. This gives you Prophecy and Savagery on both bars because we've got it double slotted, and you get a 5% increase to max Magicka. And if you've got this passive, you get an extra 2%. So we've technically got 7 with a 2% recovery bonus. Don't press it. Just leave it on your bar. Next is our emergency heal. You are going to want this, but if you're a bit advanced and there are enemies still in the room, you don't have to. You can swap to Swallow Soul instead. Swallow Soul will allow you to weave it in a an active spammable, which will heal you, versus no damage and just healing you. Bear in mind, however, this can heal someone else in your group. We used this recently on livestream with a tank in Infinite Archive, and this was a godsend. Being able to heal myself quickly when I need to, and then also being able to heal the other person, this is basically like a breath of life. Again, if the other person is completely covered, or you're in a group with people that have got heals anyway, and you just need an emergency one, you want to keep up the damage, this will do fine. So that's a trade-off, up to you which one you use. But bear in mind, this one you need an enemy, this one you don't. So if it's the end of a round in anything that you're in, and you've got dot damage on you, then you're in trouble. So this helps. Merciless Resolve. This is quite simple. You want to make sure that you go into the Assassination skill line and unlock this from Grim Focus to Merciless Resolve. This one actually is the weaker weapon and spell damage version of the two. The other one is higher, but the damage is higher on this one while the damage is lower on the other one. And they kind of trade off against each other depending on how you want to play. If you're actively using this, then you want this version. If you're not actively using this, then you want the other one and never press it. Basically, while it's on either bar, you rack up light attack stacks or heavy attacks. Lights 1, heavy 2. Once you get to 5, you'll be at maximum weapon and spell damage bonus. Then, if you maintain it, you keep it. If you fire it, you do damage. A lot of damage. This can hit incredibly hard inside your rotation, but if you're not very good at it, you don't have to use it, you can just keep it there for passives. But I would recommend using it for an emergency heal, especially if you're in the Infinite Archive sometimes, to maintain damage and heals at the same time. But bear in mind that heal only fires if you are close. You need to be in melee range within 7 meters to heal, but you can be within 28 to fire. So, rack up light attacks while using your spammables, and then use this every time it appears. It will glow when it is ready, so you can fire it then, if you choose to, or you can just keep the bonuses. Next is, of course, our spammable, Crushing Shock. This is the main bread and butter of the entire build. This utilizes your front bar weapon very, very effectively, and it hits like a truck. Yes, it can get expensive, which is why we don't have too many skills to cast. So, light attack spam, light attack spam, light attack spam. That's all you need to do with this. It does 3 different direct damage types, fire, frost, and lightning, which all can fire their respective status effects, but it will guarantee their status effects every second cast anyway, because of the Asylum weapon. So technically speaking, if you were very, very lucky, every cast could be 3 statuses at once, but it's guaranteed to be every second one. Alongside the damage, and one more thing, alongside the long-ranged interrupt. Yes, this particular skill will stop enemies casting on impact from 28 meters away. So, fast-paced, insta-cast spammable with 3 different types of damage, all in one hit, so 3 direct hits, 3 different types of status effects, and can interrupt. So potentially 6 types of damage all at once, 6 hits, and off balance if they are interrupted, and interrupting them, and you're doing a light attack first or after, which is very fast-paced damage. It's very hard to counter that if you're up against it, and it's very, very good against the enemies inside all content. So the only thing you are going to have to consider, however, is there's one fight in the game, hard mode Sunspire, the last boss, Navintas. If you're fighting him on hard mode, change the morph of this. It will do exactly the same damage, but it won't interrupt. On that particular fight, it's the only one that you'll encounter where you don't want to interrupt too soon. Everywhere else, though, this is perfect. Now, the execute is Impale, which is in Assassination. This will long-range execute your target. Under 25% health, don't cast this beforehand. Under 25% health, this will do 330% more damage. Not up to, guaranteed. You don't use it until low health. Soul Harvest is on the bar for many reasons, not just because of the passive bonuses, but because of its active use. If you activate this, the target you're up against, you'll do 20% extra damage to it. Also, it will afflict them with Major Defile, so their damage shield and healing is reduced. And while slotted on any bar, you will get 10 ultimate back for every enemy you kill. Now, if you're in the Infinite Archive and you want to swap this out for Dawnbreaker, of course you can, just don't use it. That way you'll lose a crit bonus, but you will get the extra 3% weapon and spell damage for it being there. Only use that if you get Adaptive Conqueror 2. You'll outplay this particular buff here. You'll have it with you all the time. You won't need to press this anymore. Outside of that, always keep this here. Back bar, if you're using 2 bars, you want Shooting Star. In a crowd, drop this. You get loads and loads of ulti back, and then you can use this again anyway. Really, really powerful stuff. Make sure you take use of that as much as you possibly can if you have access to it. If you haven't got Major Skill 10 right now, just get the Destro ulti from the Destruction Staff skill line, and you'll be fine for now. Or use something more utility-based. It's entirely up to you. It won't do the same as Meteor or Shooting Star, so replacement is a replacement nonetheless. Inner Light is the same on both bars, as we've already covered. Blockade of Fire. Now, why have I chosen this one? This particular build is spamming a weapon skill. Weapon skills are slightly more expensive if you are not spec'd correctly versus class spammables, and they tend to meet power-wise in the middle eventually, cost versus damage. Again, that's very specific to certain skills. It depends on how you're built. Elemental Blockade is not Unstable Wall of Elements. Unstable Wall of Elements lasts 10 seconds. This lasts 15. The 10-second one bursts at the end. This doesn't. Why have we chosen this? Well, it's about cost. Because we can actively stay on our front bar and spam longer with this duration, we technically don't have to keep recasting this more expensive skill, and we can keep our costs down while keeping our buffs and damage up. Yes, this boosts damage to this set if burning exists, and it does guaranteed. If the enemy is burning, this does more damage, and for the sake of consistency and resource management and uptime on damage, this worked out better. Constantly having to go back every 10 seconds rather than every 15 to recast your Wall of Elements actually made you burn through resources way too fast and actually ended up doing less damage. So we've got the longer version so we can maintain this a lot easier, and we can spend more time spamming this. This will also fire your back bar glyph, meaning while it's active, while it is benefiting from the Maelstrom weapon even on the front bar, you are going to be constantly firing your weapon and spell damage glyph so long as someone takes damage inside of this. Back bar, damage over time, area of effect skills can fire your glyph on damage if they're ready. Dark Shade. This is a swap out. For regular content, trials, dungeons, and arenas, I would use this all day long. It does a really good amount of damage, and it's got a very long duration, so you don't have to keep spamming skills. However, if you're in the Infinite Archive, then of course, this dude isn't going to be with you the whole time. He's quite static, so you want to swap it to Twisting Paths, if anything at all. Failing that, you can just put on a damage shield or something that suits you, because most of the time it's going to be wall down, spam, crush, and shock. You're not going to have time to do full rotations. So if you want the speed bonus and a bit of damage on the ground, this works great. Failing that, put in something more passive. Even Fighters Guild passives will do for extra weapon and spell damage just while you're on the back bar. But the Shade is for everyday content. Infinite Archive, of course, it's nice on bosses, but the rest of the time, it's just going to stand there doing nothing. So Twist and Path is a good swap. Siphoning attacks, you need this. Starts off as Siphoning Strikes, morph it to Siphoning Attacks. while on either bar, you heal once a second for all damage that you do, so any type, and you get back 200 magicka and stamina, again, every once a second. This is phenomenal. The other version doesn't give back resources and does give a larger heal, but this version gives it all. If you activate it, you will nuke 4k of your own health, but you will also get back 2,600 magicka and stamina. So you can fill your resource bars nice and quickly, or just leave it there and constantly get resources back for doing damage. This is basically our built-in crit surge for the Nightblade. They changed this a few months back, or a few patches back. Very, very nice skill. Now, structured entropy is a bit of a flex swap. You can have this for multiple different things. If you are not using the Velofi necklace, you are going to want to get minor force, which means you are going to need either this from Fighters Guild, Beast Trap, and you'll have to weave this into your rotation, so you have to put that there. Or perhaps you can use the Psijic Order version of Channeled Acceleration or the other morph, entirely up to you which one you want to use, but you're going to have to maintain minor force if you're not using that necklace. However, if someone in your group is bringing that skill, completely ignore everything I just said, it doesn't matter. If you're using the Oakensole ring, completely ignore everything I just said, it doesn't matter, you don't have a back bar. But, for argument's sake, if we are using the necklace, this is an extra skill that lasts a very long amount of time that does allow you to have sorcery if you have the other morph, or allows you to have heal if you have this one. Technically speaking, we've taken the heal. If you activate this alongside having this active, your constant health regeneration is very, very good, and you've got extra damage on target. So, bit of a twist there depending on the version of the build. That will all be on the website, just in case that's confusing. Now, passives. I'm not going to go over these in too much detail. Like I said, we've got the class guide, so this will get confusing if we do too much in one space, and I know people switch off on long videos. But, Assassination, get every single one of them. Every single one. You get more crit damage for having an Assassination ability slotted. Obviously, we've got them on the front bar, not the back, but the front bar does have more damage. We've got crit chance, which is 2% per one slotted. We've got 3 on the front bar. We've got resources back when stuff dies after being damaged by us. And also, we've got extra pen against enemies that we are flanking. So make sure that you can stand kind of beside, if not at least behind the target. Shadow, we are using a couple of shadow abilities at our advantage, well, basically at our leisure. We're going to swap these out as and when, but basically, this increases your health, stamina, and mag recovery for having it. This will give you major resolve, giving you a resistance buff for activating any of these skills for a duration of time. This will give you health while basically sitting on that bar, but if we swap back, we don't have it, because obviously this is only while slotted. This will increase the duration of shadow abilities, which is why this lasts 22 seconds, which just sounds awkward, instead of 20. And why this lasts 12 instead of 10. Get these passives. Siphoning. We have got one siphoning skill on each bar on purpose because we're taking advantage of this bonus here, which gives us 8% increase to maximum magicka for being on the bar. One on each bar. Now you can swap them around and put the heal on the back, and you can put siphoning strikes on the front, so you've got access to quick resources, but it really doesn't matter where they go. Just depends on your preference, convenience-wise. Either way, both bars will got the 8%, and alongside Inner Light, which gives us a further 7%. So yes, they stack. Drinking a potion gives you 20 ultimate. Simple, drink your potions. Increases your healing done on both bars. And also, using an ultimate ability, using a siphoning ability gives you 2 ultimate. So if you activate any of the skills, you get ulti back. Deshra Staff. We've got 2 different versions here, Lightning and Flame. Flame will give you a wound up full heavy attack, damage over time, flame effect on the target if you choose to do so. And it will also increase your status damage and damage over time by 12%, which is here. Lightning staves, however, increase direct by 12% and channeled. So your heavy attack is boosted if you're taking advantage of that. And of course, your chilled and concussed effects are higher, so they're the same as they would be with the flame staff. Burning does dip because that's damage over time and status, and that won't be affected by this particular weapon. But your direct damage is all boosted, meaning your crushing shock is higher, your execute is higher, your grim focus or merciless resolve is higher. So it's a trade-off. Everyday content, lightning staff, infinite archive, flame staff. Unless you just like the lightning, in which case stick to it. It's up to you. We do get pen bonuses and resources back as well for killing enemies and for using Destro staves if they are equipped. So it's very, very important to pay attention to your passives here. You can read through them again in detail in your own time, but you do want to make sure you get them all. Light armor passives, get every single one of these. They will give us crit chance, penetration bonuses, magical recovery, reduction to cost, and we're faster. Bear in mind, we're squishy, so make sure you keep up a shadow ability for your resistance buff. But if you're on the 1-bar version, that doesn't matter. You've got that bonus anyway. No medium, no heavy. Can you change it? Sure, if you want to. Do you need to? No. If you have to change it, if you feel like you really want to, then it's down to you to change your monster, helmet, and shoulders weights, because they're the only two that are applicable for that particular change on this build, because the body set is light. So if you do want to go medium and heavy, make sure you change the helmet and shoulder. Fighters Guild, get every single passive. You are going to need these at some point, just in case you use Fighters Guild abilities, especially if you are using Beast Trap, and especially later on if you use Dawnbreaker. However, if you've got no intention of doing anything of the sort, and you're just sticking to the 1-bar version, don't bother with any of these at all. Mage's Guild, obviously we've got Inner Light, so we want to get Mage's Guild 2, and obviously you want to make sure you can get Meteor, so you can get Mage's Guild 10. But if that doesn't interest you, and of course you're using the 1-bar version, which doesn't actually need Shooting Star, then of course you can ignore every single one of these. But just for argument's sake, if you do put Inner Light on the bar, you may want to invest some time into the Mage's Guild in order to unlock this passive to give you an extra 2% Magicka and recovery. You don't have to go for 10 on the 1-bar, but you do want this. Undaunted, of course, you do want these. Take a synergy, you get resources back. Doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. If anyone tells you otherwise, they're stupid. Oh, well, it's just for the tanks. No, it's bloody not. That is for everybody. Every single person in the game can take a synergy. Every different synergy has a 20-second cooldown, and there's a video about that in my beginner series called How to Get Good. This is important if you are using multiple types of armor, but it is also nice to have if you're not. We have a 2% bonus to all resources for using nothing but light, but if you do mess with this and go with 1 heavy, 1 medium, you'll end up with a 6% bonus overall. Bear in mind, however, you are going to dip in your light passives, and it may not be worth it. Yeah, we're a cat. Increase recovery for all 3, increase max resources for all 3, and increase to critical damage and healing by 12% for being a cat. We do not need a champion point slottable for our crit damage because we already have a 10% for being a Nightblade and 12% for being a cat. Easy peasy. Also, if you go medium, you're going to nuke your crit damage stats, and in certain situations, depending on which buffs and bonuses are present, you're going to overcap very, very easily. Cap for critical damage is 125%. Now, one more. Potions. You're a Nightblade. Obviously, you want to make sure you take advantage of potions. If you're not doing so, then you're not getting 20 ultimate every time you take one. So take one as soon as it's ready. If you have medicinal use, your potions will last their maximum duration, and that is actually 2 seconds over the cooldown, so it will be infinite. We are using spell pots, which do give us prophecy, sorcery, and intellect. Yes, of course, we've got prophecy already, but we're willing to take that hit there because we have got the other bonuses on top. Bear in mind, if you're using the 1-bar version, then of course you don't need spell pots at all. Use tripods all day long. Really simple. Now, champion points. We are taking advantage of Wrathful Strikes, Deadly Aim, and Master at Arms. This is for direct, this is for single target, and this is for everything. So a combination, good balance of it all. If you are using the 1-bar variant, then of course you can get away with Weapons Expert. If you are using the full willpower variant, you can get away with Weapons Expert. If you are using the Velofi version, do not use this. Instead, make sure you use this, which is Untamed Aggression. So the switch out is up to you. That will be on the website. In the Infinite Archive, however, get this. This will allow you extra status damage, which will burst randomly. The effect is random every time you get a kill. So this is once per second, obviously, but you're not going to kill things really, really fast, one after the other, to overlap over this. You will kill things maybe once a second, but not any faster, because you're mostly single target. You kill an enemy, pops in status and Oblivion. Next enemy, pops in status and Oblivion. That's really, really good for Infinite Archive if you get focused efforts. If you don't, stick to everything else as it is. The short version of this, by the way, we haven't even got our defensive bonuses in here, is that you need to get as many yellow passive bonuses as possible to fill up your character, and you need to obviously focus on primary slottables. The 4 that were mentioned are the ones you want to aim for when you can. But you are going to want to get these as well because they do give you increased status chance for different types of damage and different increases to weapon and spell damage versus certain damage types as well. So all your passives you want to get as soon as you can, but first of all, obviously, have a path aimed at the slottable. So this one aims to here. This one aims to here. Red stuff, really simple. Health and armor. They don't require any prerequisites. There's no path to take. Get them both. Then you want to unlock this here. So put some points into here, come over to here and get 10 points in there, and then unlock your health bonus. Once you've got that, get both of these bonuses here. Every kill you get, you'll get resources back, both stamina and magicka. The rest of it, do in your own time. This is different. They have changed the green tree so that everything is quite literally quality of life. I would highly recommend you get Steed's Blessing and slot it. That will make you faster between fights, which is quite handy. The rest of it is all passive. Now, there are some slottables, yes, but for this particular build, we will not need them. Treasure Hunter, Steadfast Enchantment, all these different bonuses. Treasure Hunter gives you higher quality loot before you had to slot that. This here, Rationer, used to have to slot that. This one, Liquid Efficiency, used to have to slot that. You don't need to. You don't need to slot them. They are now passives. So, just buy the points. Don't have to slot anything apart from this. The rest is up to you, but you don't need anything apart from that. Now, rotation. This is quite simple. You basically need to just keep spamming the same button and using your bow whenever it's ready and using your ultimate whenever it's ready. Quick tip, use your ultimate before your bow. If you have to wait a couple of seconds, so be it. In the meantime, maintain this and this. Your pet and your wall. Now, if you're not using Velofi and you're not using the Oaken Soul Ring and you're using a full willpower setup, obviously you're going to need Minor Force. Get it from your group, or you need Beast Trap on your bar. That will be your skill on the last button. Well, you can put it where you want, but as long as it's there. Essentially, you need to do this. Pet, wall, swap bars, spam like hell. Whenever your ultimate is ready, use it. Whenever your bow has had 5 light attacks, it will glow, fire it. That's it. At execute, keep the wall down, and spam execute. Don't use your bow. Now, if you're not very good at that, and you can't maintain all these different buffs, bonuses, etc., 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 then it becomes really, really, really easy for you. You keep up this, and you just spam this. And you don't bother using your bow at all. You just take advantage of the weapon and spell damage that is there all the time, and you just keep spamming. Now, how do you track your skills? Options. Combat. Set them on PC, by the way, because you can go into the PC menu, obviously, and read things a little differently there before someone tells me I'm only on console. You're looking for this. You're looking for combat, and you're looking for ability bar timers, which are on. Both are on. These have a yellow bar that grows, or shrinks even, when a skill is active. So as you can see on my bar there, above my heel, there's a yellow bar. That's telling me that the skill there, that has a timer on it, in numbers, is counting down. When that is gone, or almost gone, light attack skill, whatever it is you're doing, swap bars, light attack wall, swap bars again. If your pet's ready, do the same. If your structured entropy is ready, do the same. Just keep an eye on those yellow bars. As soon as they dip to almost 0, light attack skill swap, light caster skill swap back. And as you can see, a brand new timer. Now, big tip. If you are on a 1 bar build and you are using something that does have a duration, this build is not going to be necessarily applicable to that, but just in case you are, this is a tip for you. If, for example, you want to use Wall of Elements on your front bar on your 1 bar build, and you can't quite track it by keeping an eye on the digits, you can double bar it. Now, I can hear you saying you can't use 2 bars. You cannot. That's correct. But if you have this on the front bar, and you have it on the back bar, even though you can't swap bars, it will still show the timer. So this here, if I activate this, do something with my bars, you can see there that there is a Wall of Elements timer. I didn't cast that on the back, I cast it on the front. The skill is identical. So it's telling me what the back bar timer is, even though I'm not using it. So that gives you an extra bar to track if you're on a 1 bar build and you can't quite see enough to track the digits on the individual icons. Bit of a side tip there, completely unrelated to the build, but maybe you will change your execute to a Wall of Elements or something once your focused efforts comes in. Who knows? Anyway, now it's time for the good part, the fashion part. Now, this is the Skingrad Vedette helmet, and it makes him look like a metal cat, because if you put it on a cat, the shape changes, which is kind of cool. Everything apart from the chest and the belt is Dremora Kynreave, but the chest is Cerebanic Marine in heavy, and the belt is Dramathra in light. Again, everything else is Kynreave, and the colors we're using are quite simple. We've got the Transliminal Violet for the gold, so number 1 on everything is the gold, apart from the waist even, because it doesn't have a 1, it's got a 2. And the same for the weapons as well, which is the Ebon Shadow and the Blind. And the other color, it doesn't really matter which one you pick, but if you've got a black of any sort, use that. So basically purple and black, but the purple actually shines gold on some materials, so it has to be that specific one. Anyway, people, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I know the gear section was a bit long, but there's several different variants, and they are all going to be on the website as well. Take some time to practice this. Don't sit on the dummy for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's really not that difficult, but you are going to want to get used to weaving. So wall down with your pet and spam light, crush, and shock over and over and over. Ultimate when ready, bow when ready. And it's pretty much light hit, light hit, light hit, light hit. Once you've mastered that, stuff the dummy, write it off, and go and play content. You don't need to hit that obsessively to change your DPS from 90k to 91, or 95 to 96, or 92 to 93.5, or 70 to 72. You can get good at weaving in content. As long as you've got the basics down, you don't need to sit there and mess with that thing all day long. Of course, if you want to chase numbers, you can do, but bear in mind that is going to spend or waste a lot of time doing what you don't enjoy. Once you think you've grasped it, target practice is over. Now go and get good at the content. Anyway, people, if you're not subscribing, hit the button. It is free, of course. Socials links is down below. And also there's a brand new channel to the brand called Xynode Game & Survival, where I'll be playing Conan Exiles, Dune, Awakening, and other survival games as well. So if you haven't subbed to that channel already, hit that button. It is free, and I'll see you in the next ESO video. Bye-bye.